What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of At Home with Mark. Today, season 7, episode 10, and I have my pal Justin Stabler on the show. Justin, thank you so much for making time to do this, man.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Glad to be here.
Dude, so obviously we've talked quite a bit since, this episode. So I've gotten to know you. So like we'll probably rehash some stuff that we've already talked about for the
Sure.
people.
Yeah.
But I also want to talk to you about being the man behind the curtain, if we want to get some Phish heads in on this. But I want to hear about everything from start to now, obviously, so we can kind of hear the scope of what you've been through in your career. But you probably know I asked this to everybody, but what is your earliest musical memory?
Probably the earliest one would be my first concert, which was not an old classic artist. It was actually the band Incubus, and I saw them at the Electric Factory in PA, and the band Hoobastank was opening up for them, like before their first record dropped, everything. And but that was the time period for me. Like I grew up as a TRL kid, like the last of MTV music videos, stuff like that. So it was like Incubus, Korn, Limp Bizkit, and then you had like Spice Girls, NSYNC, Dr. Dre, Eminem, and then Sum 41 and Blink-182. So that's, but that was my first concert, I think, was pretty significant. Like I still remember what I was wearing. I had my Dare t-shirt. There you go. Another time period classic. And cargo jeans or shorts, crowd surfing for the first time. My dad actually lifted me up and threw me up into the thing. It was cool.
How old were you?
It had to be at the start of high school or maybe right before high school, somewhere around there. So my dad was a huge music lover. I didn't realize like how much until later on. Like he gave me all his like classic concert t-shirts, Allman Brothers, Kiss, Pink Floyd. I mean, back from when he went, but he never he didn't tell me that he saw all these guys. It was just more like, oh, what are you into? Like, let's go see the concerts that you like. And I was like, so later on in life, when I was like, hey, Dad, that band like AC/DC is really cool. He's like, yeah, I know. So that's funny, there you have it.
But you grew up, and I know that you've kind of worked in the rock scene quite a bit, but you grew up on that stuff mostly, that kind of music?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I've always been kind of more on the rock side of things. I mean, not just with like work, but just what I like musically and stuff like that. That and like pop, like commercial pop stuff is, just like the melodies and hooks. And, I early on I was like recording bands and, putting on shows and stuff like that. So I like that idea of like songwriting and, bands like One Republic and, that sort of thing,
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting because I'm the youngest in my family, and my older brother, who's 4 years older than me, is the one who exposed me to all this great music, like the Grateful Dead and Phish and Medeski, Martin and Wood and John Scofield and all these great records. And I always kind of had in the back of my mind, I love the Dead now, but like at the time, I'm like, this is kind of weak sauce. It's like doesn't have enough oomph behind it.
Sure.
And then so that's when he played me anything off of like Junta. Like I was like, oh, this is like a harder edged Grateful Dead vibe kind of thing. And that's what drew me to Phish. But like that's because I came from Pearl Jam and I came from Alice in Chains, Soundgarden. Like I mean, I very short stint with Pantera. I couldn't really get into it. It was too much for me, I think. But same thing, man. I grew up just loving rock music, loud guitars.
Yeah. I mean, I remember being in the car, like, whatever, going up to like work with my dad, whatever, if he was taking me out of school or something like that. And it was K-Rock radio for me. And it was all that stuff. It was Pearl Jam and Black Crowes and, Nirvana. I mean, all that stuff. I was a little late on the grunge side of things. Like it was just as it was starting to change over a little bit. But again, like I go back and listen to all that stuff now, Stone Temple Pilots and,
Yeah. Talk about melodic, dude. Like that band, when you go back and listen to like, even just listening to Purple and, Tiny Music, those two records are so chock full of amazing melodies. And that band, Stone Temple Pilots, like if Scott Weiland was still around right now, it's like I wonder what like they would have been pushing him to do.
Oh, I know.
I didn't know. Did you see that interview that Rick Beato did with Robert DeLeo?
No, I didn't see it. I
Pretty
usually
awesome.
I try to catch a lot of his stuff, but no, I didn't see that one.
You should check it out because, like, I did some of the stuff I didn't know. Like he said, like usually a lot of the times he's like the songwriter. Like Robert wrote a lot of the stuff, but he was like Scott would tend to write a lot of the melodies, but like the drummer would write lyrics for him. But he said he was so great at masterfully crafting all those melodies for those songs that he doesn't think those songs would have done what they did without his voice,
Oh wow.
without his ears. You know what I
But
mean?
he was just kind of taking words and kind of shaping them into a melody and that sort of thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. You should check it out. It's a really good interview. Um, so then when did your fascination with guitar begin?
Well, I started out on bass like early on. Like I played in most of my bands playing bass, and then it was a songwriting thing. It was like I could hear the song more with guitar, picking it up, sitting on the couch. It was more fun to play guitar and that sort of thing. So picked it up from there, and then it was after high school. I was kind of kicking around because I didn't go to college or anything like that, and I moved to New York City, and there was the drummers collective is there, and they were starting a guitar program. So I jumped into that, and at the same time, I started working at a repair shop. And the idea of that was like I've always worked in music stores, usually doing resale or retail and that sort of thing. And this was something different. I was like, oh, you mean I can actually like learn to like set up my guitar and not pay somebody to do it and that sort of thing. It was like that seems up my alley, and it went from sweeping floors to restringing to refretting to wiring, whatever. And that's kind of what I guess started it at that point.
Who was your mentor? Like, who were you learning from at that time?
The first guy, his name was Paul Niento. He owns a shop out on 14th Street. And that's actually where I ended up picking up my first touring gig too. Unfortunately, he kind of saw things differently. He wanted me in the shop. He has, put in a lot of time into me and that sort of thing. But getting stick with the ultimatum of like, oh, I got to like choose one thing or the other. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna try this because I think this is why I was doing guitar repair was to maybe take it in this direction and that sort of thing. So, and then I jumped immediately, like while I was touring, right into 30th Street with Matt Brewster, and
Mm.
I would say he kind of really became my mentor at that point. He kind of understood the touring world, um, and then obviously he's owns 30th Street Guitars in New York and super busy shop, and he was just happy to have the extra help and that sort of thing. So it was a good relationship.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never been in that shop. I've obviously heard about it from many
Yeah,
people.
I mean now it's on 27th Street, but it's still just as cool. And Matt's the mad scientist back there.
Okay. Do you have like specific, I mean, because you travel so much for your job, like, do you have specific guitar shops around the country that you absolutely love stopping in when you're in that town?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, if you ask anybody who tours with me, I usually go to a music store pretty much in every city. I mean, go to a coffee shop, walk around, see where the nearest music shop is, walk into it. I mean, some of the places I have relationships with people and I'll stop in and say hi and that sort of thing. And other times it's just poking around, just seeing
Yeah.
what's there and admiring all the vintage stuff that I can't afford and,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Dude, man, I got totally lost in Chicago Music Exchange the one time I went there. My wife was working and she was like, "I gotta work." I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna just go to Chicago Guitar Exchange." I was in there for 2.5 hours, just like, ugh.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's like, that's the way I think you want to see like a guitar center when you walk in, right? Like it's got great stuff in there. It's got a wide variety of stuff. It's commercial, but it's not, right? Like it's still a real music shop. It's beautiful. I mean, I go there every time I'm there. That's one
yeah.
of the places I hit. And I found another cool spot. It's like called like Rock and Roll Vintage or something like that, or rock guitar and synth vintage. It's 2 miles away from Chicago Music Exchange, and it's like the old school. Like as soon as I walked up, I was with Vance Powell at the time, who does all like the broadcast mixing for Phish, and he's done Chris Stapleton records and that sort of thing. And we walked in and we were like, holy crap. I mean, it was
Oh,
just
really?
Marshall JMPs, old consoles. I mean, old tube testers, like, you know, from 1950s, just everything that you could imagine. And it was just like piled on top of each other. Like you would have to spend like 2 days there just sorting through it, testing it. It had old like Echoplexes there.
Oh,
It was awesome. And it's one of those
dude.
things like, you got to go in and try the stuff because not all of it's like in perfect working order, but it's like it's awesome.
Yeah.
Probably pre the internet, it was probably even better because you could probably get really good deals. Now they know their prices on everything, so it's like, okay, well, still can't afford it now. Like,
Yeah. Dude, yeah, I mean, I feel like Chicago is such a like I mean, I wouldn't wanna live there in the wintertime, but, like, as far as the city, like, because 'cause I've lived in Boston and I've lived here in like, a couple other places, but, like,
well, you've done
Chicago
Boston. You could do
Boston's
Chicago.
awesome, yeah.
Yeah,
I love Boston. I mean, there's just, like it's like a small New York, is how I kind of feel about it, you know?
sure. Yeah.
Um, but, like, there is, like, some great music shops in Boston too, like, that you can kinda roll up into and find some, hidden gems. Um, but man, there's anyone who's never been to Chicago Music Exchange and the place Justin was just talking about, you should make a trip, make a pilgrimage, and plan on spending hours there because there's so much, dude. Like, I never really understood how much boutique until I went to that shop. I didn't realize how many boutique companies there were.
Oh
y-
yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I
and I'm
mean, even being on like Instagram and stuff, like even the little bit of like guitar building and stuff that I've done, it's like it starts to open up like a whole can of worms where you're like, oh my god, it almost feels like everybody's doing it, which is I guess kind of what the internet does, but kind of
yeah,
all your interest puts it together. But it's like, you know, it's there's a lot of builders out there
yeah.
or guitar related, companies that are just making great products or gimmicky product, whatever they're making. It's all
hmm
cool.
That's a pretty good segue. Can we talk about Apollo a little bit
Yeah.
before we jump into Fish World? I want to make sure that we touch on what you're doing too, because what you're doing is really rad. Um, so tell me a little bit about when we're talking about builders and people building instruments and like what you are setting out to do with building guitars and what you're setting out to do in terms of what is an instrument that you want to play.
So for me, Apollo guitars is it's still kind of in that pipe dream phase. I've been doing a lot. I've been getting all my stuff drawn out. I've prototyped some stuff. It all started out just me making like custom guitars for people. Like not your straight up Stratocaster or Tele. It always had like a twist to it of some sort. Like one thing I'm working on for somebody right now is a 8 string hollow body baritone. It's a Tele
What?
body. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So it's got 6 strings, and then your D and your G have octaves on it. So I had to get a custom bridge made, the whole shebang. It looks
Dude.
really cool. I just brought it up to Kip to paint, so it should be. It's been a long time in the making because of the move, and I took on too many projects during COVID, and it was like that. But anyways, Apollo's eventually kind of like my long term plan. While I tour with Trey and stuff like that, I would like to, build a couple designs that I think is just a guitar from my perspective. I keep kind of going back and forth. I was like, oh, should I change the scale to this and that? I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna make a guitar that I think looks cool and
Mm-hmm.
that I think plays great. I just let it be that. Like I mean, my career right now is with Trey and that, so it's just I know I showed you 2 designs.
Look awesome too.
Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome to show them if you have them there or not. Um, but yeah, that's the idea. So it's a long term plan to eventually do that. I don't know if it's going to be a super boutique thing or if I want to try to streamline it into kind of you know being able to get it out into more stores and that sort of thing. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Dude, I feel like there's room for it because I think that there's a market for people wanting something that's different than just like the Strat Telly, Les Paul type vibe. And what you're doing is pretty hip, man. Like what, let me see if I can actually find it. So in our text thread, but I think there is plenty of room for people to enter the market and be doing something different. Cause there's, I mean, I feel like I've had, so I for a little bit there, I was a Sir artist and I had 3 different
Mhm.
Sirs. I had a Telly and I had 2 Strats, and one of them was an open C for slide, one of them was in standard, and the Telly was in standard too. But at some point I was like, you know what, man? It's like what we were talking about beforehand with purchasing like expensive guitars. Like I've always wanted a custom shop Strat, always, forever.
Mhm.
And it was like a bucket list thing. And I turned 40 and I was like, I'm buying one, dude. I'm gonna sell all these Sirs and get this one nice guitar. And then I got that. And then James from Rewind, our mutual friend, was like, hey, let's put some pickups in that. I was like, no, I can't do that yet. I just got this. And he was like, well, what about your old Strat? I can make you some cool pickups for that open C Strat because I have a Shoreline Gold, like 1999 Strat.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And when I heard his pickups, I was like, dang, like this thing just came to life. So then he was like, if you like that, you know, that's not my specialty. Like PAFs are my specialty. So then I
Sure.
bought that 335. And that's what led to, you know, me eventually. He's been talking to me for like a year. Like, dude, look, come on, let's just put some PAFs in that. And I was like, it's too new. I just got it, dude. I can't
Yeah.
just immediately change. So are you precious about stuff like that too? Or are you like constantly swapping?
I'm probably at this point constantly swapping. I mean, it really has to like. For me, it's about the guitar. Like, as long as the guitar feels great, or I like
Yeah.
how it feels to me initially. No, because I kind of got stuff that I like, and kind of, yeah, I don't care. I'll
But you
take it
are a
all apart.
humbucker guy more so, right?
Oh,
Like,
totally. Yeah. And I mean,
okay.
I dig Tellys too, but yeah, Gibson Les Pauls, SGs.
Yeah.
That's again probably the rock side of me, but that's
All
that's what
right.
it's
So
at.
here's the first picture you sent me. This guitar. Talk a little bit about that. That is amazing. It looks awesome. The contours are super dope, dude.
Yeah, so that one is I'm excited about that one too. So that's kind of my inspired like sort of Languedoc, so to speak. I mean, it's built differently. There's going to be a center block in there, more like a 335 or something like that. It's more traditional guitar stuff versus the kind of that violin hollow body thing that Paul did. But
And let's look at those bevels. Those bevels are sexy as hell. Look
yeah.
at that. Oh yeah, baby.
So
Dope.
I'm gonna play around with that. I think I'm gonna make that like a 25-inch scale. Um, just to kind of see. I think it's a good compromise. I may just go back and make it a short scale like a Gibson,
Mm.
24 and 3/4. It's just punchier, I think. The shorter scales kind of just add a little bit more punch, even for like something like single coils. Like you'll get less of the twang and the snap, and more of the fundamental like kind of punch of the note. So we'll see. You know, kind of
Yeah.
that's the next one, and then the other one that I sent you is kind of like my Strat. Yeah,
Yep.
and
Zoom in on this
that is
sucker.
basically ready to go. I gotta just get it cut at this point. But I have all
That's
the tracing
beautiful.
templates done. I have it all catted out and everything. So,
I love the headstock too, Justin. That's probably got to be the biggest pain in the ass out of everything is figuring out what you're gonna do with designing a headstock.
oh, for sure. I mean, because I started out doing the six in line like a Strat or something. But it's like my thing is like I don't want it to feel like a Fano or a Collings or anything. Like yes, there's some PRS influence in there, with some of my designs and that sort of thing because I think he, you know, builds a beautiful looking instrument. But it was kind of merging that a little bit of the Gibson, the PRS ideas, and kind of
Yeah.
putting that together. I'm trying to see if I have. I don't know where it is at this point. I had like a drawing of the six in line headstock thing, but that was cool too. It just looked like kind of what everybody's doing, like Friedman, and it's got like the little lip, and
Oh, right. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, it's just like I want to get away from the Fender thing. Everybody does the Fender thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like, you know.
What is it about too, like, what is it about that shorter scale length that feels faster? Because I
Well, I
swear to
need
you,
all the help
man.
I can get. So that was that's my reasoning for the short scale, but I don't know. I mean, to me it feels more comfortable. Like I get back on a Strat and I'm like, or even Trey's guitars. You know, I mean, it feels just so much longer, even though it's not. But scale length
What is
wise,
what is the Languedoc scale length?
it's a Fender scale, so 25 and a half.
Oh, okay. I don't know why
Yeah,
I thought it was shorter. Okay.
yeah,
All right. Cool.
but
I That's interesting. I mean, I these look beautiful. I see, that's the thing, is that's what I'm saying, is like there's plenty of room for something this different to be on the market, because there's first of all, they're gorgeous looking instruments, and let's be
like,
real, like a lot of us are vain and like want to have a cool looking instrument that plays well, you know.
sure.
And knowing you, I'm sure they will play well. So it's like I think there's plenty of room for you to pop into that circle for sure, man.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, why not? I mean, competition is always healthy, and I think there's so many people in the world, so it's like if you like something, you believe in something, there's bound to be a bunch of people that will believe in that same thing and like that same thing, and it's kind of trusting that, I think, and
yeah.
again, it's just it's something that I've always wanted to do. It's more of a personal, I guess, goal, to like, hey, I really want to build something, even if it's super small scale, 10 guitars a year,
Yeah.
whatever. That's cool.
Yeah, man. Totally, dude.
It's just trying to fit that in between the touring schedule with Trey, and
Yeah. I'm sure you
that's
stay
oh
pretty
yeah,
busy doing
oh
that.
yeah,
So tell me, because I know we have about whatever 37 minutes left, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you about Fish and Trey as much as we possibly
sure.
can.
Mm.
For the voracious fans that Fish has. So like I told you, my relationship with that band goes back to the very early 90s from my older brother. And I think my first show was in 94. I was in high school. I had just gotten busted smoking marijuana with one of my friends, and my parents grounded me. And weeks later, I had tickets to that show, and my parents let me go, surprisingly, and it changed my life. Like, because I grew up, like I said, playing all this rock music, and I think when I finally found that I was interested in improvisational music, I wasn't a straight ahead jazz guy. I didn't work on Joe Pass stuff until college, but there was something dangerous about that music that I liked, living on the edge of the knife kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, so when you explain to people like how you came to get that gig, I know we talked about it a little bit because that was right around when you were having your baby and everything, and that
Hmm.
complicated everything. But so how did he hear about you? Or because you've worked with so many people, like you worked with Bon Jovi,
Sure. Yeah, I
Hall and
did.
Oates. There's so many different people, man.
Yeah, so it basically came out of like the pandemic. The production manager that's on Fish, Jesse Sandler, he also worked on Bon Jovi.
Hmm.
And so my gig with Bon Jovi, I was working for John Shanks, and then when Bon Jovi did his like corporate stuff, I would take care of him doing the acoustic and kind of help the other guitar player that was in the band, and that sort of thing. And so with John Shanks, he had a full on, Dave Friedman built his rack. He had two Marshall heads, two rocks,
Yeah.
412. And he had something at one point, we had like 30 something guitars just for him. Like, he's a
Whoa.
studio guy, right? And he loves gear. So like for him, it was like, cool, we're going out on the road. Like we're bringing all the toys, and which is awesome. I mean, he had a lot of old gold tops and things like that. So when, you know, Trey and Michael K were kind of whatever going separate ways or whatever happened there, Jesse threw my name in the hat. He was like, hey, Justin's young. Here's the idea of like maybe, there could be this idea of like me going the rest of Trey's career. Because the Fish likes that. They want to keep people around in
That's
their
awesome.
camp and that kind of loyalty and that sort of thing. And then he's like, Justin, deals with a lot of equipment, and Trey has a lot of equipment too. And it could be a good match. And so I guess Trey or management or whoever thought that was great. And first I talked to Richard, which is kind of our main touring manager, everything. And then Trey called me about 15 minutes later, and we chatted like for like 2 hours on the phone.
Dang.
And yeah, that was it. He was like, "Oh, you ever listen to Phish?" And I was like, "No." I know of you as a guitar player, I mean,
Yeah. How can
and
you
and I
not?
know of Phish, but I just totally was not my scene. Like I grew up on, like I said, all the TRL stuff, but then I got into like more of the pop punk, into like real punk stuff like Bad Religion, Minor Threat, like the Casualties, like
Yeah.
Mohawk, Painted Nails, the whole shebang. So I was nowhere in the scope of jam, and that sort of thing. But that was fine. I mean, he didn't really need a fan per se. It was just more of like somebody that likes guitars and shares his passion for, kind of the tone quest, so to speak.
Right. Is he like he seems and especially in the past like 5 to 10 years, he seems like he's been on a journey in terms of gear. Like when those comments came in and then they've gone, it seems like he is like he likes it. Like he likes gear. He likes exploring like different avenues and doesn't get stuck on his laurels kind of thing.
No, I mean, I definitely getting to know Trey. I think he definitely is rooted into some things, like the Ross compressor. I mean,
Mhm.
that is part of his DNA, if you ask me. That and the two screamers. You know,
Mhm.
like that's desert island kind of thing.
Right.
Even though you plug Trey into a Princeton and he sounds great, he sounds like Trey. But when it comes to Phish and that whole kind of big thing, he's got that. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of catching the tail end of that. It was different outputs on the guitars. It was all the different amps, setting up different wet dry setups. Um, all of that. And yeah, I would like to think he's calmed down a little bit. It's been a little more stable for me.
Mhm.
But again, that core is still there, right? Like the Ross Two Screamers. What he always says is his 96.
Right. Yeah.
That's his thing.
It's TS9s, right? He doesn't have like
Yeah,
TS10s. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
That's interesting. Do you know if he's ever kind of messed with like some 808s or,
Yeah.
TS10s or
He's had them all on there. Most of them are all modded by Mike over at Analog Man.
Okay.
Um,
Right.
whatever circuit that he does or whatever. But
Yeah.
basically, they're both. Mike kind of makes, whether it's an 808 or a TS9, he kind of makes them the same circuit,
Mhm.
whatever that is for Trey.
Right.
Um, so I just order through him when I need more, or that sort of thing.
Do you have backups like on hand at all times kind of thing?
Yeah, the rule of thumb is that I have three of everything.
Okay.
So I have my main, my spare, and then the backup for the spare.
Man. Same thing with the train wreck?
Yeah,
Woo!
yeah.
That's crazy, dude. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I mean, you kind of have to. I mean, I carry around the Comet 60s still too. We have
Mhm.
them. Kind of, I guess, just for good measure. And it took a while because like Trey doesn't like anything that doesn't need to be in his guitar signal not there. So like implementing B rigs and that sort of thing, it's a tricky thing. And we finally had to kind of like talk and go like, okay, how do we do this? Because we have had issues where it's like, cool, I can't just run out there and fix it right away because it's you go out blind. It's not like you have a computer telling you like, okay, here's where it failed. You gotta go out there, and I'm looking at him being like, so what are you hearing? Because yeah, I heard it go out in my in ears, but
Yeah.
where are we at and that sort of thing. So we had to figure out how to not keep anything in the rig, but have a B rig ready to go where it's minimal, you know, down like him not being able to play kind of thing. You know, it's better to
Yeah.
have sound and then kind of figure out something than to be like, I don't know what it is. You know, do you? You know, so
Dude, that's gotta be stressful too. Well, I guess if it's at sound check, it's, it's less stress, but still. Um, I mean, I can't even imagine because it's like he's got that Bradshaw rig still, right? Like
yeah,
with
we have the big rig. That's actually the big rig is at his house. He's been doing all like recording and stuff like that with it. But we've been mostly using it's a Bradshaw rig, but it's pedal board form. You know,
Mhm.
he's got a little sideboard with the whammy and the boomerang and the other pedals that I mentioned, the TS9s and the uh, Super Puss Delay, Ross.
He never got on the Klon tip, did he? Did he ever try to
He had one. He has one in the big rig.
Okay.
You know, yeah. You're talking about the Tube Screamer with the Klon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That whole thing. Yeah.
yeah.
So here's my question too. So look, with the Bradshaw rig, I saw is that wah modded at all or is that stock? That
That's
is
stock. That
okay.
custom audio one. Yeah,
Yeah, that one sounds great. That's a great
yeah.
sound of wah. Um, so with that, this is what always trips me up about the Bradshaw rigs and stuff, and like the MIDI rigs that people use to pull up, because he's not using anything like that, right? Does he have? Well, I guess he might have certain presets for specific songs that put on like the octave and the TS9 or something at the same time, or does he
No,
tap
Trey's
dance?
all. No, he's kind of like flying at the, you know, uh, he's just kind of going on the fly with everything. There's not the only presets that he has is like for the M5s. You know,
Mm.
like we have, um, whatever, a couple of those like synthy ones. So he's got 3 patches that go to that. But he's got
Mm,
to still like turn on the M5 and then go over and click that preset, to engage the loop and then switch that. But that's really the only MIDI going on. At one point we had modded his Pog, um, the one with like the 12 presets or whatever it was. So you could MIDI control that and he could like tap through
mm.
X amount of presets. But that's it. I mean, it's pretty kind of basic, MIDI MIDI stuff. It's just
Yeah,
more of engaging a loop or something like that.
yeah. It's old school, man. It's the way to be about it, man.
It is, and he doesn't want to get like, he again, it's like his paintbrushes, right? So it's like as he's doing something, he just wants to be able to turn it on or turn it off and layer it however needed. He doesn't want to get stuck into like, oh, I have these two effects turned on at the same time. It's like that's too like kind of putting him in a corner, I think. So that was
Yeah.
like the same thing with the big rig, like when we had everything was on a button. I mean, everything had to be engaged. And that was just, again, it's the paintbrushes on the thing. He's just grabbing stuff and painting and doing his thing and
Well, what's
improvising.
yeah. Well, what's crazy about it to me too is, and this is like, I'm sure that, you've had a large hand in this since you've been working with him too, but like, his rig, albeit as it looks like it's super complicated, it seems so streamlined and he does so much like it seems like he's such a minimalist for what he has the opportunity that he could go into. Do you know what I mean? Like I never hear him overusing effects or there's never like, oh, an effect for the sake of an effect in a song or something like that. Like he's got great ears, so he's like trying to like arrange on the fly. That's something that I love about Trey is like his songwriting sensibility.
Right.
Um, it's not necessarily he's a monster of a player, and I love listening to that guy play guitar, but like he's got such a great scope for reason that he's great at improvising. He's improvises, he can arrange on the fly.
Right.
So people like Bruce Hornsby. Bruce Hornsby's that way. He can sit at a piano and be in a jam with his band and he can orchestrate everything, going on because he can hear it before the band can hear it.
Right.
And that's how those guys are, I think, in Phish. And I know that Trey is a large part of driving that
Sure. Yeah.
wagon. But you know what I mean? Like he has so much, including like his Leslie and all that stuff, but he never overuses stuff. It never feels like it's.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean everything he has is very vocal, right? Like so he can kind of fitted in, and it's kind of meshing in where you don't really know if it's a keyboard sound or it's a guitar thing. He kind of likes it to be that, and you're right, he does totally, he's orchestrating on the fly. I mean, even down to, you know, any sort of set list, so to speak. I mean, there is no set list.
Mhm.
There's some ideas written down, but we can't trust it. I mean, we joke, we're like, why do we even print these out? But it's more for him that, like, he had a plan of where he wants to kind of go, and what him and Paige and Mike and them all talked about. It's this kind of thing, and again, it's the grabbing the brushes and painting, and the four of them kind of, where are they taking it and where does it go after, kind of thing. And I have to agree. I mean, after being with them for 2 years, I mean, it's, when it all comes together, it's pretty cool, and there's these moments, and you kind of sit there going like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
get the
I was gonna say, now that you've been with them for that long, like, having not listened to the band, but now listening to them a lot,
sure.
what's your experience now? Like, or have you become a
Oh,
fan?
I mean, yeah, it's totally changed. You know, I don't know if I'm a fan per se, because I hear so much of it too, and
Right.
um plus I hear the sound checks, and I hear, all that other stuff. Um but no, I really actually do appreciate it. And I do appreciate that they, like, kind of, they've really built this, they just did their own thing and they owned it. It's kind of what I went back saying, where it's like, if you like doing something, you believe in it, there's going to be a lot of other people that, like, believe in it too, and do that. And I think that kind of confidence is what I gained from watching Fish.
Mhm.
It's just like, man, you could really do everything. I mean, you just make music. It doesn't have to be this commercialized thing, which is what I grew up on, like,
Mhm.
you know, all that stuff where it's like it had to be perfect songs and I had to do this, and it doesn't have to be any of that. You just have to make music and go for it. And yeah, it's probably timing and everything else, but believe in it, work hard. And Trey's one of the hardest working guys I've ever met. You know,
That
I mean, the whole band is, but Trey, since I spend the most time with him, it's you know,
yeah.
it's pretty unbelievable. You
I
know,
mean, you can't, like,
I'm
have
35 and he's hitting on 60, and I'm like, okay, dude, like, wow, like, I'm used to touring a lot, and you're making me go like, wow, we're touring a lot.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's go, let's do this charity, let's do this, let's do that, and it's a pretty amazing,
Yeah, man. I mean,
So
it doesn't seem like there's that many organizations that are that much better to work for, like you were
no,
saying.
definitely not. I mean, they're great. I mean, management, everybody involved is just wonderful people. It's
Mhm.
family at this point, even just as early as 2 years, it's great, you
Yeah.
know.
Man, that's so cool. Um, so let me ask you really quick about your experience being on the road with so many different people over the years. Like, can you tell me, like, I'm so interested because, like, the behind the scenes of this thing of what you do for a living. There's this allure, like seeing the picture of you at Red Rocks, like dialing something in, like that's got to just be like that can't. It doesn't get old, does it?
No, uh, I'm still trying to figure out what to play during the sound checks, because I've always, like, I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm hitting some chords, because I'm really just like making sure things turn on,
Yeah.
making sure it sounds a certain way. So, like, for a delay, like, I'm really only just doing like a click, just to kind of hear what that decay is or whatever else, and make sure that sounds right to me, and this and that. Um, but it's funny, you look out, at Madison Square Garden or something like that, and you're like, cool, I'm gonna play a E chord. And that
Yeah.
you're like, that's all I got, really. Like, don't ask me to play, but um
It bust out like an Ingve thing, and everyone's like,
y-
"Ooh."
yeah. I mean, no, I would never be able to do that. But yeah, it would you know, it is cool. I mean, I think
Yeah.
sometimes you forget in the midst of it all, or like sometimes you're slammed with an issue or something happens right before the show.
Mhm.
Everything was fine. And it is that way, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's um I kind of look at being a guitar tech or any sort of backline tech, meaning like drum, bass, whatever. It's like we're like an insurance policy, right? Like we're
Mm.
there to kind of, yeah, keep the gear going, but when it does fail, we're there to kind of hopefully step in and fix it quickly and smoothly and not do a complete like show stop. That's really worst case. It's like, keep things running, keep it going, and you know, it's a moving circus, right? So it's just like every day is a new thing. The gear is taking a beating. It works
Yeah.
fine at sound check, and then you gotta test it 20 minutes before showtime. You're like, great, this isn't working. And you're like, Trey is very particular. He's very sensitive to like changes. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't even have to tell him like, oh, hey, we changed the Victoria. It's like I wouldn't need to tell him that. He would be like
Ah.
over the mic being like, something's different. He may not be asking me, but he's hearing something, and he's searching for what that is. And I mean, talk about, there's no pulling any tricks or anything. It's like,
Yeah.
gotta be like, well, this Trey, I can't fix this in time. Or it is like you got 20 minutes to like rip this thing apart, fix it real quick,
Mm.
and get it back up there. And that's the stuff that's hard sometimes,
What's a good hero moment though of this past tour for you? Like,
Oh,
can you?
the best one is in Denver. Last show, um, of the 4-day run, we had all this weather, delayed doors, everything. And usually, rain doesn't matter, but lightning will stop a show like within a certain radius. And we were holding the show, and it was raining all day long.
Mm.
So things are tarped, everything, we're good to go. Um, okay, we got 45 minutes to like pull everything up, retest everything. They got to load in the crowd and start the show, and they're doing like a long 2 hour or 2.5 hour set. We go to pull the tarps. Of course, you check for water around it, that buildup and stuff like that. Well, you don't see everything. We have a lot of people that help us that isn't part of the crew. They're just part of like the venue and that sort of thing. We go to lift it, and water got back into the backside of the train wreck.
Ooh.
I only saw like kind of as it happened. I didn't get to see like the whole thing, right? Because I was on the other side of the tarp. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, wow, the back looks pretty dry. It looks like maybe it just hit the top. There's only so much you can see, right? So go to turn it on, go to start it, and it gets really loud, really crappy sounding, and it dies.
Ugh.
Like, okay. Well, let's go get a new fuse, right? Put in another new fuse, same thing. It's like, okay. So pull the power tubes, get another fuse, put that in, turn it on, it stays on. Like, okay, maybe it's just the tubes. I'll get another set and just pop them in. I'm still gonna have to bias it at this point, but let me just see if I can get it on and going. Go to turn it on, and like they like red light immediately, like. So I was like, well, okay, we're moving on to the backup because I got about 10 minutes before like showtime. So I pull, and this is where the backup for the backup comes in play, because you pull your B out, and I put it out there by him so he could like tweak it, because each train wreck, same circuit, but they all have like their own personality. They all have certain characteristics, and so then I grabbed the Comet, and that was our third one because Trey has one of the train wrecks at his house, and so I'm like, okay, cool, I'm show ready, all good. Run up, tell Trey. Trey's all good. Well, I didn't go up there and be like, hey, Trey, there's this catastrophic thing that just happened. You're on this. I kind of just was like, hey, man, like we blew two. I don't have enough time. You're on Jean Marie, which is the backup, which was our main for a long time. Go. Well, he gets down there, and so like after 2 songs, he's like, so you getting my other one back up here? And it was like, I was like, no, I was letting it dry out. Like, he wasn't planning on it. And then it kind of became like, because he didn't know, it was like, hey, like, where is it? Like, so start ripping it open. Side of the stage in the dark. Got a little lamp over the thing. Ron, who's Mike's bass tech, he's a amp nut. Like he builds his own amps and does all this other stuff. So he immediately jumps in too. We get it open. We start testing some stuff. He's trying to like look up to see if we can find any sort of schematics and stuff because I mean it's fried on the inside of one of the power tubes, and we're looking around. There's nothing out there. So like he then had to kind of try to determine like, okay, is there stuff like if something doesn't work, what can we live without? Is there something that we have that we can put in if we need to? So everything luckily tested pretty good. We had 2 resistors that were completely fried. I mean, it looked like a bomb went off on the inside. You know, I mean, it's just, you know. So, and I'm in there trying to clean all that stuff off. I mean, it's black, right? And all that's conductive. So, like, I'm in there with Q-tips and rubbing alcohol to, like, get it all, you know, to hopefully not short it out again, you know? Yeah. So we got it. We decided that we can live without these 2 resistors. It might be a little noisy, you know, like noise floor level, but it's not going to kill anybody, you know? So we get it all back up, pop in new tubes, do a quick bias. It took me like an hour. Got it back out there. And the show went on. And it was like a moment of like, it was just great. I mean, the transition was smooth. Everything was just awesome. And then when Trey got up and he saw the picture that I sent him, you know, during the show, he was like, oh my God. He's like, dude, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, well, I didn't want to like stress you out before the show, you know, like you got a lot on your plate too. Like my job is to like maybe be a buffer of some of that, you know. But again, like he knows, right? Like if something sounds a little different or off, I mean, that's affecting how it sits in the band with Phish and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, like that's the one. That's the amp that we've worked so hard to like make part of the rig, you know. So it is really that thing of like getting it up. But it's like what we pulled off that day was like me and Ron were like, holy crap. Like, I mean, we're high-fiving. It was like tunnel vision for like an hour straight. And then like the rest of the show, it's like, you know, you're down in the trenches, right? So it's just like you're sitting there like, what's the next thing? Like, this is when the cable is gonna go, or he's gonna break a string on top of all this. You know, probably while I'm trying to fix this thing, right? And it's just like you're just under the gun, you know. But that was probably the best success story of like, it sucks that it happened, that sort of thing. But things like this happen on the road, right? And you know, we pulled together as a team. We did it. That's pretty cool. You know, it's like after it all kind of wore off, it was like, oh man, that's why like I really kind of dig this job. You know, like I've always been into that thing of like how bad can something go and how far can we like bring it back kind of thing. You know, like that adrenaline rush is, I don't want that to happen, but it's cool when you can like have a moment where you can go like, okay, maybe I do know something, you know,
of course you do.
You know, like, and thank God for Ron too, because I mean, it's just like, I don't know, you know, being able to have 2 people kind of have their eyes on it, let me kind of clean it up, test a few things while he's looking at the actual circuit. I mean, that cut down on time, figuring out all that stuff. And yeah, I don't know if I would have been able to do it, you know, without his help. But man, you know, we're a team, you know, and it's teams win, I guess, you know. I mean, it's a work together and keep the show going, you know.
Yeah, dude. Is that amp like back up and running now? Like
oh yeah, we sent it out to, you know, I mean, it's something that I could have probably cleaned up more and, you know, put in the resistors, but Mike at Comet Amps, like if you have a train wreck and it goes down, you know, he's the guy that is probably the best guy to, you know, take it to and have it cleaned. And, you know, there's marks from it, you know, that he can't get out without scratching into the chassis, but it's like, you know, hey, power tubes do blow and that sort of thing. So it's better to have that than scratch marks in the chassis and stuff like that, because valuable amps and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
you know,
What is it about those amps that he likes so much? Is it like that just like forward focused kind of punchy thing or
I don't know. I you know I I mean they sound great. You know,
yeah.
I mean it's an amazing amp. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't have the same distortion as like a Dumble or something like that. Like it does want to rock. I mean Les Paul 412 with that is just like heavenly.
Yeah.
But it does clean up. I mean, even for EL34s and James's pickups and all that other stuff, it's like, I mean, we can get that thing pretty chimey and clear and clean just by his volume. And then when he needs to kind of get some of that bark and that, oomph behind it, it's all there.
Yeah.
So
Man, that's
yeah,
crazy. So
yeah,
is he still loving those pickups too? Like those rewinds?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been the same since we put him in. Um, I think I watched James' interview with you, and I think everything that he talked about was pretty accurate to the way it all went down. It was that side of the stage you decided to swap him out. We went with these other ones, and I think it's a great choice. I mean, I think it kind of took the Languedoc, and I think the Seymour Duncans were a great choice back in the day. Because there really wasn't many other guys, and those kind of have a scoop mid range. The Languedocs have a lot of mid range. So that idea of kind of like maybe scooping some of that out, me and James's idea was like, let's double down on it, and like let's kind of really take that instrument and let it translate. It's got this great mid range to it.
Yeah.
This kind of honky thing that's just really cool, and let's just own it. Brian May owned it. Trey's a
Yeah,
fan of
man.
Brian May, so it's like, okay, it doesn't sound like Brian May. That's not what I'm saying, but it's like that mid forward kind of thing.
Mhm.
Let's just do that, and then the ability, using the magnets that we did, and the higher value pots and all that other stuff. It just allows Trey to be on one guitar and clean up to do what he needs to do for the soft picking stuff and the more ballad stuff, but then something like Santos or one of those songs, or if he does Isabella or whatever,
Yeah.
he can kind of open it up and let it be that full on humbucker,
Yeah.
so yeah,
There's like a clarity to them that's what I noticed when I put them in. There's like a clarity that I didn't I mean, the other pickups I had in there were fine. I would have been happy with them forever. They
yeah,
sounded great. But there is a mid-focus punch and like a clarity and like I feel like there's like these harmonics that happen for some reason with James's pickups that I wasn't getting kind of through the boombuckers. Like it just wasn't happening the way that it happens with his pickups.
sure.
And at first I was almost like it's like when you play through a two rock for the first time. Like the first time I did that, I was like, ooh, there ain't no place to hide. It's like it's HD in your face. If you suck, son. But the same thing with James's pickups is like I found that it's like accentuating all these cool frequencies and harmonics that I wasn't hearing before. And even like, taming how the feedback interacts with the instrument too. For
Oh
some
sure,
reason,
yeah.
these pickups seem like they do such a great job of like taming that. But I mean, so I don't know what your experience was the first time you heard them and what his thoughts were, the first time you heard them.
Yeah, I mean, my big thing was just trying to get clarity, because like it wasn't like I think for Trey, it's a lot of the lead stuff, the notey kind of thing. For me, it was always like when he would go back to the rhythm playing with the band and how that sat. Like me just being a listener, like sitting there with my in ears in from the side of the stage, kind of being like, yeah, the solos sound great. Like they sound big. They sound, I mean, Trey doesn't have a problem with that, in my opinion, but just some of the rhythm stuff, it's just like, it felt like he was always kind of fighting it, which I think was why we were trying multiple amps. We were trying all this other stuff. And it was like, I kind of just like threw out the idea. I was like, hey man, like I know you've kind of briefly tried some other pickups, but like, what if we actually like tried to like voice your guitar a little bit, because it is really unique. It's not a 335. It's not a hollow body. It's much different than that. And
Mhm.
you know, part of the appeal of James was like somebody that I had already been talking to. I bought a couple of pickups from. I bought his book and was reading his book, and I just kind of emailed him and I was like, "Hey man, this is who I work for. I haven't mentioned it before, but like, here's where we're at. Like, I think your pickups could be a good fit, but I need you to hear it, you know?" And he was like, "No, no, I could do something." I was like, "Nah, maybe," but I was like, "I don't want to get this wrong, you know, like."
Yeah.
Because Trey's already been down that road, and I was like, we got to try to nail it, you know. And the first step was really just to do something like the Duncans, just give it more clarity, a nicer top end,
Mhm.
um, and that sort of thing. I mean, I think James's specialty is clarity, and he, you know, I think I said it to you before. It's a signature kind of brighter top end, and you get almost like as you're getting real fast with the picking and stuff, it gets like a little bit of like a chirp, which some of the old PA
Yeah.
stuff had and stuff like that, which you can hear on Trey's stuff too. You know, it's got like, I mean, the only word I know how to describe it is like a chirp kind of thing, which is cool to me.
Totally.
It sounds great with the clean stuff, and um, yeah. And then again, that was the first one that Trey liked right off the bat. You know,
It's
and
crazy.
I don't know what made him change his mind. Maybe he didn't think there was a huge difference or whatever else, but he just said like, ah, let's give it a shot.
That's awesome. That's
Okay,
awesome.
well, here we go. Off into the deep end, you know. And it was, I think it was a really big success. And you know, Trey likes working. I mean, you know, everything he has is pretty boutique. You know, he works with Bob, who builds all his own switchers and things like that. You know, Ken Fisher, who built the train wrecks, you know, built this limited amount. Now James, who, you know, is working out of his shop, you know, specializing in pickups and doing all that stuff. And it's this little community. I mean, fortunately, Ken Fisher's no longer here, but you know,
Mhm.
Bob's still here, and you know all that other stuff. And
Yeah.
Trey likes knowing that somebody, you know, had their hands on it. You know, came from like a passion and that sort of thing. I mean, Paul too, for that matter. You know, with the guitars and
Yeah.
all that stuff. You know, he's got a huge respect for that. He loves people,
Oh, no. There we go.
talents and everything like that. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think you can tell that he is super passionate about that stuff, and like you were saying, like, how he knows if something's off just by, like, the needle in the haystack type vibe.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
like
it's pretty amazing.
yeah,
You know.
I mean, but I would think Mike's probably like that too
Oh,
in
I
that
think
thing.
they're all like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I'm so absorbed in like Trey world that like,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, I mean, they're all, I mean, John Fishman sits in that room all day long and plays drums. I
Yeah.
mean, it's amazing. He gets
Yeah.
in, he practices.
Mm.
I mean, he'd be there probably after the show. If somebody would let him back into the dressing room, you know, like,
That's awesome.
um, yeah, it's a amazing group of guys, you know.
Mhm. I mean, man, it's so fun to, like when James told me about that, and I told you this, um, even if those Bloombuckers sounded better than James pickups, I would have kept James pickups because it's, like, a friend of mine making great stuff.
Sure, yeah.
You wanna
Well, there's
support
something
that.
like, I mean, you just play differently because you know that, right?
Yeah, totally. But it's I mean, it's fun and now getting to know you and, like I don't know, I really like seeing wonderful people succeed and do cool things, and, like, it's just there's something so comforting about that too, that I know that, like, the people that are behind the scenes and the people that are in front of the on the stage and whatever, truly and genuinely care about these things, and those things are obviously playing music for the fans, obviously, but, like, caring about what my sound is.
Right. Well, yeah, I
Like,
mean, you saw
you
those
know
things that Trey was doing, like, you know, the "What are you doing?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was like, even the couple that I watched, it was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool that you do that. Because like,
Yeah.
you know, we all work together, but I'm not sitting there in the video department being like, how do you do that? Or like, you know, I see the lights move just like you guys. I'm not thinking about like, oh, how are they doing that? You know, I'm just like,
Mhm.
cool. I'm glad that's working, and not coming down over my head or anything like that. But to hear, Madison or somebody talk about that, it's just like, that is pretty cool, dude. I can see why you're into that, or
Oh,
you
yeah.
want that to be, kick ass and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, it's like they appreciate it. Like it's not lost on him, the
oh
amount
yeah.
of effort that goes into putting on one show. And I haven't been to a Phish show. Whew, it's been a minute. And I've been meaning to go. Like I was hoping they were gonna come to Merriweather this past summer, in Columbia, Maryland.
Hmm.
But I told you, I mean, I've never been to an MSG show. Like at some point I need to do that because it's like that's a spectacle. I've never been to a concert at Madison Square Garden, let alone Phish. But like,
Oh, well, you got to see
well,
Phish there. I mean, that's like
I
home turf for them.
I know. I know. It's like when I saw that Wolfpack show of them playing Madison Square Garden. Are you hip to those guys? Wolfpack?
Yeah, yeah,
Like those dudes don't have a label and they sold out Madison Square Garden. Like how crazy is that? But like
yeah.
just seeing the vibe of that room and everything. And I know that like, when the boys hit Madison Square Garden, it's like it's on. It's like game
Yeah.
time kind of vibe. So I know it's pretty special. So at some point I'll do it. But man, it's been a minute. The last time I saw them, I think was when they played. I was still living in Boston when they played Fenway Park. It's like right
Oh,
when they
cool.
came back. It's like after
Oh,
the
wow.
hiatus. So it's been a while. But
Yeah.
I also had a child and didn't go to shows for quite a long time. You know how that
Oh,
goes.
oh,
So
I mean, Declan hasn't seen any Phish shows. He's seen some sound checks and stuff like that. But it's yeah. I mean, since the kid's been come into my life, my son, it's it changes things, but it's cool. Like
mhm.
just bring him out and Trey's picking him up and he's walking around on stage. Make sure he turns on all Trey's pedals for me and stuff. You know, maybe he could take over deck and retire soon.
That's so great. All right, so let's do this lightning round get down. I could talk to you for
Oh
3 hours, but
no.
we're not going to do that. First thing though, I got to do my dad joke. So I have this dad joke. This one's for you, since we're close to Halloween.
Okay.
Why is it cheaper to throw a party at a haunted house?
Why?
Because the ghosts bring all the booze. It's pretty bad, right?
Yeah, I actually thought that was funny because I'm a new dad.
Yeah, there you go. All right, here we go. So, you know the rules. I'm going to ask you 10
Yeah.
questions, this or that type of
I'm gonna be
situation.
terrible at this. I'm gonna tell you right now.
No,
You're
you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Ain't nothing to be scared about. All right, Lennon or McCartney?
McCartney.
Indiana Jones. This is who you going to have a beer with, Indiana Jones or Han Solo?
Indiana Jones.
Hell yeah. Rack mount gear or pedals?
Oh, rack mount.
Regular M&Ms or peanut butter M&Ms?
Oh wait, you said rack mount or pedals, like actual
Yeah, like
rack mount.
floor.
I
Yeah,
was
like
thinking
rack
like
mount.
Bradshaw. Let's go pedals with that one. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Regular M&Ms or peanut butter M&Ms?
Peanut butter. I mean, I'm sure.
Yes, of course. All right, for a neck, rosewood or a maple neck? You prefer?
Rosewood. Yeah.
Okay. Checkers or chess?
Checkers.
Red Rocks. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Red Rocks or the Gorge?
Ooh. The Gorge. I don't know. I like both.
Okay. All right. Lightsaber, blue or red?
Blue.
Stay on the light side.
Yeah.
All right. With your sandwich, chips or fries?
Fries.
And then last one. All right. If you could take any album, doesn't have to be your favorite album, but if you could take any album and erase it from your memory, just so you could go back and experience it for the first time again, what album would that be?
Ooh. Man, I don't know if I have a good one for that. It would have to be something early on, like maybe going back to, it's gonna sound silly, but like one of the 311 records.
That's not silly. That's fine.
I was a
Which
huge
album?
311 fan for a long time. Um,
Like Grassroots? Are you talking? Or are you talking like
yeah, probably Grassroots or what was the one before that?
music?
Yeah, music.
See, dude, I know all about 311. I'm there. I'm there,
That
dude.
was
I'm
probably the
right there with
closest I got to probably any sort of like, not that they were even a jam band, but funky kind of grassroots, do-it-yourself kind of band, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I love
I'd be a
311,
huge
dude.
311 fan.
Yeah,
Still
I
am.
love that. Yeah, I mean, they're still playing, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they're still doing it. Yeah, no, I was a big fan of them too, man. Like, because they had great grooves and like that drummer. Who's that drummer in the
Chad
band?
Smith, I think. Is it Chad? Chad
Chad
something. Chad
Chad
Sexton.
Smith, Chad Sexton. Yeah, Chad Smith's
Yeah,
Chili Peppers, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Um, yeah. So yeah, Chad Sexton. Between him and Peanut, like that was like I was like, oh dang, like that rhythm
well,
section is like got
yeah.
some
I mean,
vibe.
Peanut was like, I started out on bass, so like that was, him and the first bass player of Incubus, whoever that guy's name was.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember feeling like when they got the new bass player, I was like, okay, it's not the same band anymore.
I'm out.
Yeah,
Was
they
that
sold
dude
out.
was that dude like did he leave after Science or was he gone before Science?
No, he was still after. I think he left after like Morning View, like so it was 2 albums after
Okay.
uh Science. So
Okay. Yeah, I mean all this stuff, dude, like that's the stuff I listened to while we were playing 007 GoldenEye in our dorm room in college. Like that's what
oh
we
yeah,
listened
yeah, yeah.
to. So I know what you're talking about, brother.
Oh,
Anything else that you need to promote? Anything about Apollo? Like anything that we can keep our eyes on, or
no, that's it. I mean, I'll eventually start putting my Apollo stuff out when I'm ready. It's a work in progress, and you know, everybody can kind of catch me out on the road and that sort of thing. So
heck
always
yeah,
happy to
bro.
talk gear and that sort of thing. So
Yeah,
you
man.
can always send your questions to Instagram, and I'm happy to entertain everybody's you know thoughts on gear and that sort of thing. I love all that stuff.
Heck yeah, dude. I told you too, man. If you get one done and you want me to demo it on the channel, send it back to you. I'm happy to
Awesome.
do it. So
Yeah.
always let me, man. Let me
No, I
know.
love that. Let me
Cool.
know when you're coming out to Phish, and we'll make sure we get together and have some, get some food and
Heck yeah,
drink
dude.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, man. Justin, hang tight. Thank you again, sir. And BV, thank you for moderating the chat. If everybody wants to check out and follow Justin on Instagram, there is his Instagram handle. Obviously, Trey Anastasio. We all know where to find him and his hot licks. But everybody, take care of yourself. Take care of each other.
Awesome. Thanks
See
so
you
much.
next time.